Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. I know, early, but I get it when I can get it, right? Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, yours now and forever. In your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I gotta get this dog off my back. Come on, come on. You want your bone? I know. You bugging me. um. I think the biggest thing to talk about today, we're going to talk about a bunch of things, but as far as basically, you have to go without fear. You have to walk in a non-fear thing. That doesn't mean that you tempt fate. It doesn't mean that you know you stand in front of a truck, you do chaos things. No, it means that you try to do everything the best you can, but you have dealt with death so you can truly live. Okay, and I go to I guess this is John 11:25. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he or she may die, he shall live. And whoever lives and believes in me shall never die. And he asks, and I'll ask you, do you believe this? Do you believe it in your heart and your soul? If you don't, I want to hear it right now. Why? And I will answer that question. Because we're going into very, very, very dark times. And I fear that it's only going to get worse. Unfortunately, everything that I said is coming true. I don't want to be correct. I tried to give you people a heads up, okay, to prepare. Because just like Passover, God wants us. He wants his children to prepare. He wants us. This is why he wrote this. He wants us to prepare for the dark times, for the famine, for the disease, for the pestilence, for the riots, for the tyranny. He wants us to see that and be prepared for it. At the same time, he wants us prepared ultimately for death because we're all going to die, right? He wants us to be prepared for that. That's the most important thing. So if you are prepared and you have no problem dying, then you can walk without fear. I don't have fear. I have concern of a fire. So what do? I have fire extinguishers in every single closet of my house. I have a special fire alarm. Why? I've gone through two house fires. Okay, not good. Okay, and both times I wasn't there, but I would. I can't even imagine if I was there. I think I would have been with all the fires. I would have been able to put it out. Yes, Mama Bear, absolutely correct. I've said this many times because who said this? Jesus said it. We live in a fallen world. It will not be saved world until we see Him come again. Okay, when He and His people, angels, us, whatever, throw this antichrist and beast and everything else and all that shebang into the pit forever. Okay, and it will happen, and we might be alive to see it. That's another reason why you want to survive, because I don't know about you, but I want to see that. That's an incredible thing to see. Any questions before I get on with the topic of the day, which is there are no coincidences. Okay. Trump used to vote in Democrat. Um, my family used to vote, well, Democrat, but we're talking um, really not since John F. Kennedy. So, no. Um, but I put it to you that John F. Kennedy would be a Republican today, definitely. You can tell he was not a communist. I put it to you that the true communist leaders are not communists. They're criminals. They rob their people of the wealth that's in the state, and then they take from their homes, they take from everything, and then when it's all over, they either wither away, go someplace else, or what. But people end up eating their pets, eating the animals in the zoo. I just swallowed the wrong way. Excuse me. Hate that. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, there should be a meme for that. Communism or socialism. You know, don't eat meat, eat your pets. And there's no coincidences. This whole food thing, the the baby food, the six food processing plants that burned at the same time, the diesel prices that are going to be $10 a gallon, probably by the end of June, if not in the beginning of July. And this country runs on diesel. Okay, diesel makes this country run. Uh, so yes, there's going to be diesel shortage. Guess what? There's going to be gasoline shortage because a diesel truck delivers you the gasoline. Yeah. There's going to be food shortages. Why? Because a diesel truck delivers you your food. There's going to be all yeah. So gonna be bad. And remember, logistically, there's only 3 days of supply in any given city. Okay, only 3 days. Right now, let's talk about Elon Musk. Let's talk about Trump. Trump is another person that used to vote. Now, I myself never voted Democrat. Never. Okay, I wasn't old enough to be in the Nixon election or whatever. The first time I voted was for Reagan. That's when I was old enough. And yeah, so um, Trump used to vote Democrat as well. Elon Musk admitted he used to vote Democrat. Is he doing that now? No. If he wasn't on their radar as being an enemy, he's definitely on their radar being an enemy. You can even turn around and say that this whole thing that he did was really to expose the tremendous fraud of the Biden followers. They're saying now almost 40% of the Biden followers, if not more, are bots. He's only got 20 something million followers. So he doesn't even have 10 million followers. Yet you're telling me this guy got 81 million votes. Hmm. 17 and a half more than Obama did. Well, that makes perfect sense, right? That's logical. So yes, YouTube is still suppressing my channel, aka I only have 14 people watching me. At least that's what they say. I don't know. I have more followers on my Odyssey page, so I can do it on the edited on thing. And yeah, yes, the other thing. Yes, God wins. We know the revelation. Yeah, we know that. That's the end. Okay. The idea as Christians is that we're trying to convince others that not only does hell exist, but through Jesus Christ is the only way out of it. Okay. And we try to tell that. All right. I mean, Jesus said to them plainly, Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, so that you may believe. No question, Lazarus was dead. Okay. Yeah. And who did Jesus think? His father, after, because his father listened to his prayers. See, it's very important. Jesus is the way to our Father in heaven. He is our cleansing agent. He is our advocate. It's a very important thing. Now, as far as Elon Musk, um, there's a tremendous amount of bad press that, just like they say, oh, Xi Jinping had a brain aneurysm, just like Putin has bone cancer, whatever. Don't believe anything unless you literally are in a hospital room with that person and you can see the chart filled out by the doctor and you witness the test and you're seeing it there firsthand with your own eyes. You question everything. Bring your sources to bear, okay? Which means people that have a record, go back and look at my record. All my videos, by the way, are available on my Odyssey page. That's odyssey.com, Bo Omni. They're available there, and you can go back and see that I agree with the plan. I didn't agree with the plan. I was deciphering the plan. I was telling you what the plan was, and I was telling you what was wrong with the plan. This is not the plan. You still have people like Dave X22, people saying that, oh, this is the plan. This is the plan. Really, this is the plan? Uh huh. Okay. Yeah. It's going to tell me now that Buffalo was the plan too. Okay. Or these other things with the plan. I can tell you something. There's no coincidences. Okay. I've seen the Buffalo footage. All right. Whoever that is, it's a highly trained individual that has done that before. Professional. I find it extremely hard to believe that an 18-year-old will find that kind of training. Not only that, I can tell you from the state I'm in, okay, there's no way you can buy that weapon. It was modified with a Dremel tool so expertly done that it didn't jam, didn't have any problems, and those reloads were flawless and everything else. Yeah, no. I've myself have built guns with my son, who was at the time he was 16, 17 years old. And it took us many, and I mean, we're talking at least 40, at the time was 40 years of experience that I had. And yeah, I made a flawless gun. I made it for my friend, my nephew. Okay. And yeah, it's up in Vermont. Okay. Yeah, it's semi-automatic. It's not a machine gun. I'm not a big believer of machine guns. Okay. Um, yeah, because as a person who has to pay for their ammo, unlike my sons at one time, they didn't have to pay for their ammo. It's very expensive to shoot a machine gun. Okay, where a clip only lasts you about 3.5 seconds. A magazine. Okay, that's it. I mean, yeah, a 30 round magazine on semi lasts a bit of time, but it lasts a lot longer than it's on full automatic. I mean, in fact, the military, they modified all their A2s, and ever since then they came up with 3 round bursts for the same reason. They now have a new I think it's called an M5. It's not even, yeah, but yeah, Mama Bear. Yeah. Yes, I do read that. Yeah, well, I've seen my videos also on other channels that are pirating it, and they're fully monetized. They're getting all the stuff, and YouTube knows this, but yeah, so they get the ad revenue, they get all the stuff, and no, I'm the source. I put my name out there. Okay, everybody knows this. Okay, so unlike these others who hide behind a shadow, whatever, you see who I am. You can look at my credentials. You can see my CV. If you join my Patreon page, it's only $5 a month. My full CV is up there. Okay, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's who it is." Humility, people. Okay, there's always somebody out there that's going to be smarter and better than you, more accomplished, and there's always going to be somebody who hasn't, who's not. I know what I know. Okay, and I also know what I don't know. That's important. Okay, I know a lot more that I don't know than I know. It's a kind of conundrum, but it's the real truth. It's very important to know where you are in that line. Okay, where you fit. I know that um, recently I posted on my Patreon an interview I did on the radio 2 months prior to my stroke, and there's also on my there's an interview I did about I guess it was 6, 7 months after I had my stroke. Totally different, in every way. And then you can see me today. It's patreon.com, and then just search for Ball Omni and you'll see my mug, Mama Bear. $5. If you buy a year subscription, you get a discount. I wish I could put more up for $1, but they changed the rules again. Patreon did. So yeah. Just like my ass page through my mug. Like I said, published. Okay. So it's not like I'm not talking from a person who knows what they're saying about certain things. Now, I can tell you what is going on. So presently, there's two radiological sniffers flying above the United States. Two of them. There's 4 military balloons flying at 80,000 feet. There's a mess of KC-135 tankers. There's only a couple of things going on over in Europe. There's a bunch of heavies flying in and out of there delivering stuff, but not really much except for over Odessa, which is like they're looking down at that port because I think they're worried about Russian submarines and things like that. I've been in contact with people in Russia, and it's changing back to the way it used to be. The freedoms, the laws instantaneously locked down. Um, it used to be where they could have protests and whatnot. Basically, you can have one person protest. It used to be three people protest. It used to be a bunch of people protesting, but then no. And of course, there is more police, more this, more that. They're making income, the government is making income more than ever, but the people are suffering extreme high prices in just about everything across the board except for fuel. And, but not everybody drives, and most people live in apartments. And, yeah, so their quality of life is headed this way again. And it's not like they can't remember when it was that way. Okay. I feel bad for all those people. I feel bad for the Ukrainian. I feel bad for everybody. I feel bad because what media is not talking about is the UFO or UAPs, whatever you want to call it, and aliens and everything else, which were then put forth in front of Congress, shown to be real. And as I said to you, that I would say most don't have our best interest involved. Yeah, Mama Bay, I'm gonna do something to you that you're gonna either like or not like. Um, yeah, I just made you a moderator. Anyway, so yeah, so we have aliens. We now know it's a truth. It's a fact. We know that they've harmed humans. We know that they've harmed the military. We know that they were flying repeatedly in our practice zones. Repeatedly, we had near misses with them with military jets. Our military aviators and pilots are concerned. Geez, maybe we should all look and say, geez, we all have red blood. We should try to find out what's going on here. Maybe. Okay. We see the sun. Oh, the sun is stirring up. Oh, that's something. Oh, there's some micro flares today. Oh, yep. And we've seen we saw a huge CME go off the back side of it and strike Uranus and stuff eventually. Oh, that was bad. Yeah. Guys, this is going to affect everybody on this planet adversely. Hello? Not global warming. It's the sun. It's done it before. Okay? Global warming. It's not oil. It's not coal. That's warming this planet. It didn't melt the last ice age. Is oil, coal, and all that other stuff, it's inefficient. It pollutes tremendously and it costs way too much. So there's no question that 50 years ago we should have been getting off this stuff or be making a moon mission to get off this. The first time we lined up on gas lines, everybody should have been saying, this kind of sucks. We should be doing something. We went to the moon. We should be doing something to get off of this. You have to ask yourself, why do we do that? And then why do it now when you don't have the other? It's not like we have the other. Say we everybody boom. The government gave me an electric car. Oh, la di da, it was free. Let's just say it was free. We won't even talk about the inflation that would cause. Do you think you can plug your electric car in, and then where you think an electric car is going to replace your petrochemical car? You think there's enough charging stations? You think there's enough electrical supply in our 70-year-old power grid? This is putting the cart before the horse. Okay. I'm not saying electric is not the way to go, but it's not. No, not with lithium. Graphene, supercapacitors, things like this. Yes, there's no question. But why? Well, with that technology, you can recharge your car, truck, whatever, in about 5 to 10 minutes. Well, that's how long it takes you to fill up your tank. Next time, pull over and figure it out. Yeah, it does that. Okay. And the distribution of that electricity, if you're making it with nuclear reactors, molten salt reactors, would be, yeah, would be good, would be fast. Logistically, it'd be less energy taxing to transport electricity through wires than it is to support 150,000 gallons of fuel in a truck. No question. So yes, you want to be able to see that. Now, do I understand why Tesla came about? Do I understand why Elon Musk made it? 15K, dude. Every single car that Tesla sold, they're getting $15,000 from the government. That was incredibly smart to do that. That's brilliant. He's not saying it's the best way to go, but he's definitely saying that, hey, I'm going to definitely go on to exploit this because they're offering this and I'm going to do it. I'll build a good product and I'll try to make it the best I can and make it better and have whatever. But he knows that there's not enough lithium. Lithium is a rare earth. There's not enough lithium, not enough on this planet to support a $5 trillion it's not enough economy. No, 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 not enough to do it. So he knows that something else has to happen. It has to be the graphene, hydrogen based, fuel cell based, something. Okay. Something has to be made, and it has to be more efficient than a diesel truck, which is at 50% efficient now. Okay. Diesel engine can't be less. Can't park your truck and watch lithium unload 20% of its charge because it feels better at 13.8 volts than the 14.2 that you left it at. And I'm just using that as an example. It's really not. It's 48 volts or it's even higher, but the actual cells it basically mean it wants to remain at 80% charge. And even I'll tell you something else. If you want to store lithium for a long time, you don't leave it at 100% charge. You leave it at 50% charge. Okay. That's lithium. It's the chemistry of lithium. Okay. Lead's totally different. Lead, like lithium, you'll kill it if you leave it on a float charge. Lead loves a float charge at 13.2. Loves a float charge. So you can actually combine the best. Um, a lithium BMS battery system, like an 8D, something like that. Batable makes them with your existing lead. Okay. There's things that lithium has that's not good. Number one, doesn't like to be charged in the cold, doesn't like to work in the cold. Okay. Doesn't like to work in really hot temperatures either. Okay. Can just try to output as much power as your system will handle. It'll melt wires. It'll do a lot of things. So, believe it or not, lead, and it also doesn't survive well in a lightning storm. So I'm looking at all this stuff because I'm refitting my boat Starlight. Okay, so I've never been struck by lightning, but I have seen other sailboats struck by lightning, and the effects that, like, even though I'm look, I'm probably because I have a cast iron keel and I have a wing keel and I have a clean bronze plate on the bottom of that wing keel that's hooked up with a fuse to the mast, and I have a lightning rod at the top of my mast. And you gotta say, well, how come lightning? Well, the ionization of the ions is actually in the first 6 to 8 inches of the water when the lightning puts out its feeders. That could be the reason. I mean, it's speculation. A lot of people think that they know lightning, but I'm telling you right now, with 1.5 million votes and that kind of amperage, there's no telling what it can do. So I'm preparing. What if my boat gets hit by lightning? Oh, that's my thinking. Okay, what if my boat gets hit by lightning? So I know that I'm gonna have some lead on it still. Okay, I might take the 8D. That's I have an 8D and I have a 4D and I have a starter battery. Definitely not gonna get rid of the starter battery. I might get rid of the 4D and put two Battleborn Route 27s and lithium in that, but I don't think I'm gonna get rid of the 8D. So I'll have that big, and then I'll either um, buy a BMS that's gonna handle it, or I'll program my own PAL to do it. I'll build my own circuit to do it, because I want to be able to hook up both my lead and lithium at the same time, and you really have to have voltages that are basically the same when they marry. Then you can have, because everything that lithium wants to do is great for lead. Lithium can cycle a lot, which lead can't. But at the same time, um, the lead is there to take all that abuse and be that big sponge. So that's probably what I'm going to end up setting up, a hybrid combination. Now, that's because I see drawbacks in going with a full lithium system, as well as I've been running lead all these years, and I see the deficits and the problems of having just an all lead system because you can only run them down 50% of their charge, and they're heavy. I might do the opposite. I might get rid of the 8D, keep the 4D, and get an 8D lithium bank, which would that'd probably be a better way to go because there'd be a lot less weight, and everything is weight on a sailboat. So I might do that. Point is, I exhaust when I'm going to do something. I exhaust it. I look into all aspects of it, and I see that there are aspects to old tech as well as there are to new tech. So with these cars and with these lithium things, as an energy quotient, takes a tremendous amount of energy to build one of these cars. Phenomenal amount of energy to if you go from the mining to the end product that's sitting in your driveway, there's a lot of diesel that's used to make that car. A lot of diesel is used to mine that lithium, to refine that lithium, to transport that lithium. Did you guys ever hear bunker fuel? It's just like this administration is doing this, going to Venezuela, Iran, and stuff like this. That fuel is going to be put on tankers. Tankers use bunker fuel. If you're concerned with the environment, you don't want oil tankers out there transporting stuff. That's the worst possible thing for the environment. That's dirty, polluting. It's terrible. Okay, it's the worst. Versus doing it domestically because they have to meet specific standards, and we actually have extremely clean oil here. Um, our oil that's beneath our feet is probably the cleanest anywhere. So, and also in Canada, and Alaska, definitely. So that you want to exploit those things. But the other thing is that you want to put a lot of effort into another technology that's better than this stuff that we see, even with lithium batteries and everything else. And you want um, government to do it, and how it's going to do it? Moon base, Mars base. Bob, why do you say this? Because I can tell you something. You don't have the sun, okay? For 2 weeks a year, two weeks a month, you don't have the sun on the moon. You can't do it with solar panels. You have to do it with something. Where you going to store that energy? Can't store it. So you have to have a nuclear reactor, and it has to be so slick, so safe, so foolproof. It must work without anything in case, God forbid, they get hit with such a CME, it wipes everything out. So it has to be physical. Molten salt reactors are that safe and are that physical. Okay. Yeah. Then you have to have optical computers. You have to have new generation of fuel cells for your portable gear. What's going to generate the fuel for them? That nuclear reactor. Everything has to be dependable. Everything has to work. Obviously, a moon base is a stepping stone for Mars colonies. You have to develop the tech here, then you have to test it in the field on the moon, and then and only then will you go ahead and do the Mars mission, because you don't want to put people in the grave in 6 months. You don't want them to get there and be dead. You don't want them to get there and have no chance of living. You don't want them to get there and say, "Okay, plant the flag, and now I'm going to be dead." No, that's not a useful endeavor. It's not. But the um, the fact is that when you do this, okay, you will have tremendous spinoff, just like we got before. The technology that you're seeing me on is due to the fact that you needed 10 thousands of pounds of fuel and oxidizer to get every pound to the moon. That was the primer. And you needed five IBM 360s, but they couldn't be any bigger than a briefcase, and I couldn't use any more than 15 amps. That was their limit. Okay, that's the limit. That you had to get that, and they couldn't crash. They had to work. No different than they were so vitally important. The computers on those spacecrafts were just as important as the oxygen they were breathing. Yes, we don't have bases on the moon. Nope. I'm not saying that the aliens don't have bases on the moon. I'm saying we don't have bases on the moon. I know for a fact that when the astronauts were there, they were not alone. As far as there's no such thing as free energy. There's just cheap energy. Okay, cheap energy. Heck, there was a guy. My father introduced me to him. I think I was, I don't know, 7, 7.5. And this guy used to work at Grumman. And at his garage, I will never forget it. His garage, he had this go kart, and it ran on water. I'm not kidding. His kid was running it all around. My father was like, "Yeah, I this guy would he went to file a patent on it or whatever, and everything, he disappeared. His family disappeared. My father never saw him again. I don't know what happened to him. There's no question that you can make an engine that runs on water. Okay, water has that much energy in it. There's no question that they have the tech to do this. Now, again, that's not free energy. It's extremely cheap energy. Okay, and that's just one thing. I've explained to you another thing. For example, um, an engine that runs on gravity. And I've seen engines that run on gravity. I've seen them myself personally. Okay. Are they practical? Um, they can be. The electronic version of it is extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. You can say, "Why, Bob? Why?" Well, you're exploiting the mass difference between an electron and a proton. And though they both have the same exact charge, their masses are extremely different. So, in one way, when you're putting the thing up on top of the hill, you're putting it up with an electrical charge. But when you're taking it down the hill and it's for the waterfall's dropping, you're depending on its physical mass. That's why you're using a proton. Oof. And that's something that can go, yeah, that's not a good thing. That's a thing that if it's exploited the wrong way, it can be bad. It can be very bad. Okay. You can develop all kinds of things. I mean, Tesla wanted to again, it wasn't free energy. Okay. Cost money to build these towers, cost money to build all this stuff, but it was cheap energy. And it was a brilliant system. It was harnessing the electrical energy from the sun. The solar wind comes through us, induces a current into this planet, and he was going to, harness a fraction of that energy and then transmit it at a different frequency all over the world. JP Morgan saw this. JP Morgan did not want this to happen. Wait, you're going to give free energy to people? Yeah, because all you would need is just like a special doodag antenna on your car or device or whatever, and it would run on that energy. Can't do that. Yeah, Disney started that. Disney does not import any electricity. Okay, they make their own power from taking trash and burning it essentially at plus 5,000 degrees. I might add. So it's extremely um, efficient way of dealing with it. Very efficient way of dealing with the trash. And they even put like a scent thing in it so it doesn't smell. But yeah, a friend of mine that I trained. He actually went to work for Disney. So when I was down there in the 2000s and stuff with my family, I got a behind the scenes tour of all the things. What I was mostly interested in was the two Capricorns, and they also had an age. I think it was an AG5, something like that. The best studios I've ever seen in my life. The best recording studios, incredible recording studios. Um, it's just incredible stuff. I mean, they when they said that they spared no expense, they spared no expense. So yeah, I mean, like the best sound stages ever. Yeah, so that was my thing at the time. I was also very interested in the logistics of, like me, when I put in the all the 7.5 spec optical in the World Trade Center. They had again at the same years and same time I was doing it. They were doing it in Disney World, so they were fully integrated with all kinds of stuff. Really, the first time I went there on my honeymoon, they were starting to do things and they were experimenting with different type of digital systems. So by the time I came there in 2000, man, they had, yeah, I mean, oh, granted, in the local nodes, they had a tremendous amount of Cat fives and stuff like that, but they were being optically connected, optically fed. All the nodes were optical, so they were way ahead of the game. I can't speak for their mentality or their insanity now. I could speak about Elon Musk and Twitter. I mean, Elon Musk made a deal. He must have done his homework on this before he actually think he looked at the Fed filing. I'm sure he did. And the Fed filing was that they only declared 5% of the things as bots, and now he's saying that even for one account, it's almost 40%. So that's really bad for them. They're going to have some serious tough questions. Not to mention, if he is going to buy this, he's going to buy it for a lot less than he asked for. Yeah, and yeah, but it's a whole crap show for them because they lied on their filings, and that means that the board is liable for that. That's not a good thing. Yes. Well, it wasn't when I brought my sons when my sons were boys. Matter of fact, we saw a guy get off a train in the middle of. We had it down, and we had a great time then. We had the Disney Magic Plan, so we got to do everything. It was a really good plan. It was great. And it was a repeating of my wife and I honeymoon there. So we were trying to replicate that, and the boys had a great time. But recently, my son went down there with his sons, and he hated it. I mean, he really did not like it. And well, he's already Mama Bear. He's already done that, so they can't get away from those filings. They're public 10K reports. This is fraud. Fraud with a capital F. There's there's no difference in what they said was that's basically falsifying your assets. So say you're a mine and you have it in your again going public your money company. That's like saying that you have you know a mine that's putting out a ton of gold and it's only putting out 5,000 pounds of the gold. I mean, in an entire year, you're putting out a ton of gold a month or week, whatever. You go to jail for that. You go to jail. Yeah. So that's a problem. They're gonna because essentially, data and users are their asset, and that's how they make money. They make money on those really live, bodies. Yeah, I can't show that, Jim. That'll flag my channel. Unfortunately, I have to take care of that. You can't. You can misspell it. So yeah, no, no, it's not so much. It's not what the problem is those people who falsified those documents. What you don't understand. I mean, I am a CEO of Amber Ways. You can't do this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amber Ways Productions and Media Group. That's me. So um, yeah, you know, you go into to do a specific production and job. You can't you make a specific budget for it. You have to stick to that budget. You make certain allocations of things, and you sign a contract. You have to provide those things. You can't say, "Oh, gee, I don't wanna," or "Oh, gee." Um, if you say that you have a specific amount, like for example, on a movie set, okay, you have to have a certain amount of generators because shooting a production takes a lot of power, and you have to have with those generators. You have to have diesel. You have to have, and you have to. You can either rent it, you can own it, or provide it. Whatever. Most people rent it, but you still have to provide fuel for it. And with the fuel costs going up, you have to add that into your budget. Okay, that has to be something that's allocated because these things don't run on fumes. I mean, they run on fuel and they run on a lot. You're producing, say, 200 amps of power for a second unit production to make all that stuff run. Okay, you that's gonna that's gonna go through 100 gallons a day of diesel. Okay, if it's costing you $10 a gallon to get it there, that's not the price of the fuel. That's what costs you to get it there and to the tank of that generator system. Yeah, people don't understand. It's expensive to do. That's what expensive. You're not even including the people it takes to maintain, run, operate, hook up. You have to have specific electricians who understand those types of circuits, those types of power situations. That have to be certified. There's all kinds of regulations. You go from different production sites to different production sites. Different cities have different specifications. Doesn't matter. The ignorance is not an excuse. You have to have all these things done. So with Twitter, they had to make sure when they made those filings, and that's all they're going to be sued, and that's all going to become public. So one way or another, those analogons are going to become public. How they determine where the data is stored, what the data, that's all going to become public. It's going to expose a tremendous amount. um, well, Jim Foreman, I have proof of one thing. Okay. There was a document, a picture that was taken at the end of that whole Roswell thing, and there was a general who was holding a document, and it was just barely seen on the photograph. I myself have used Photoshop to enhance it. I did it, I don't know, 25 years ago with John, my friend. We were looking into that, and there was no question. It said um, three aliens, one was alive, ship was all this. And I have always said to you that it doesn't take 8 trucks, 300 men, three DC-3s, two hangars to transport a weather balloon in boxes that were launched by two guys in a Jeep. Okay, logistics. If you want to see what military operations we have running, look at the heavies. Look at the 135C tankers. Look at the stuff that's in the air. Okay, because if you have any fighter coverage or anything going on, you got to know that they got to refuel in the air. Okay, and even the drones refuel in the air. They can't hide that. Okay, these guys have to have FCC clearance when they take off and everything else. They're on the charts for a certain amount of time. It's the way it is. Yeah, the drone flights, the fighter flights, those types of things are not. But you could surmise by command and control and other types of Hawkeyes and other things that are in the air, they must be doing something. Okay. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize what the specific sit rep is for the specific moment in time. Okay. And the Russians, of course, know all this. You know. Um, a book was written about my father's encounter in Texas, 1956. Yeah. So no question, and verified on many levels, but also verified by others. Many people were involved in that, and he was given an order by a captain. Don't talk about it, and that's it. You're given a rah, rah, rah. Look, my father ended up having an SAP clearance as well as I did. I mean, you just don't talk about things. You work on projects. That's a lifetime. You take an oath. So there are things that I've worked on I can't talk about. You don't know you don't know who's seeing this, but that's number one. But number two, um, there's a lot of bad people out there. And number three, you took an oath. So and the oath is before God. So that's the thing that I wish our Supreme Court justices, when they were being sworn in with President Trump, that they took to heart their oath. They obviously did not. They obviously did not. They obviously did not believe in God, because if they believed in God, they believe in that oath, and that oath works two ways. It works a way that you're making a promise to God, but also you're counting on Him to cover your back too, because you're making that promise. So you're saying, "Okay, God, I'm putting my faith in you that you're going to cover me on this. I'm going to maintain my oath." That's how I was taught. Um, well, I'm as far as Tracy S writes about IQs. IQs are a very funny thing. I mean, it's. I mean, to me, what an IQ is just the way it's an ability to problem solve. So, and I say that I've met people with extremely higher IQs than mine. Not that mine it used to be very high. So I haven't had it tested recently, but I used to have a fairly high IQ. Um, but still, to me, it didn't give me all the answers. It didn't put me on the other side of the fence. To me, it was like almost a stockade fence. So it allowed me to understand more than I could solve. But then what I couldn't solve frightened me because it made me aware of reality, more reality. And at that age, I did not want to know. So I wasn't like my friends who could go out and do things. I actually knew stuff and seen stuff, and that it concerned me tremendously. I mean, how many people knew Planck's law when they were kids or understood the half life of cesium 137, things like this. Um, but that's the way God made me. Okay. So, um, Trump released papers that Kennedy was talking about the Greys. I don't know what the Greys are, but I know they exist. I'm sure that they're not the only ones. Like I said, I'm sure that there's a battle out there just as much as there is here. I'm sure that there are good ones. I'm sure just like here, there's more bad ones than there are good. God no. Thank God I had a fantastic childhood. My I was with I mean I was blessed or cursed with a 185 IQ, and so I mean I remember when I was a kid they used to take me out of class and constantly test me, and it was bad. My name was Ball and I just don't need it. So I remember I filled this one test out as wrong as I could make it. I mean, as wrong as I could make it, which means you're making it right, really. But it's a statement. So the principal calls my father and says, you got to do something. Look at this. Look at this. And my father looks at it and he looks at me and he says, and he understands. And he says to me, "What's up?" I said, "No more tests." Somebody looked at the principal, and the principal was going to say, "But you," and my father just said, "You heard him. No more tests." And he started to say something again, but then he didn't. My father had incredible gravitas, and what he did was we got first NASA photos of all the moon stuff, everything to do with that. We posted in the library at my elementary school and things like this. So yeah, it tried to smooth over a certain amount of things. I brought in a plaque that my father had signed that actually went to the moon. It's still there on the moon. Um, you know, certain stuff, and my father had Captain Shepard come in as a class thing. So, but yeah, I was that kid. I was hanging out with astronauts. I mean, I sat in the actual Apollo 8 command module. Captain Lovell was a very good friend of my father's, and I'm a kid there, like a kid sitting there. Of course, you're a kid. You want to sit in there. It was like a love seat inside this thing. It was, but I'm like, wow, went to the moon. I remember was down in Norfolk. That's where it is now, and I think this was 90. Oh, I think it was like 97, 98, and my sons were there, and and they was looking at it and were like, you weren't there. I was like, yeah, well, I was your age, Bobby. That's when my son told me that's what he wanted to be. He wanted to be an astronaut. So, and that's when we started looking into, well, I have to make this happen for the kid. What do you got to do? And we, I thought he was going to go to the Air Force Academy. Turns out, no. The more astronauts came from the Naval Academy than the Air Force. I was like, okay, well, what's the B plan of that? You know, and okay, yeah. My other guy, James, he wanted to be a Navy SEAL from day one. He didn't want to hear anything about it. It's like Navy SEAL. There was no. At any rate, uh yeah. So I mean, my thing, my wife's and I thing was just you know, officer, please, officer, ROTC officer, do something. You know, that was our thing. We, you know, any rate, yeah. But now both sons are extremely well, and my youngest is going to be 30 this year. That kid, he said he was going to become a multimillionaire before he was 30. He's done it. He's a multimillionaire. He's single. He's very picky in particular. He does not like liars, fakes. He likes real. That's what he finds to be hard. No, I would, and Jim, I was no. After my father died, that's when my abuse started. From my sister, and my mother, basically. My father had set things up, and they I wasn't old enough. I was 17. So my mother was the executor and everything else, and it wasn't a surprise to my relatives on my father's side of the family. Well, I would definitely, Jim, if that was true, I would definitely say that that person or that thing is a demon because what I've seen the Pentagon do definitely was not um, an angel or a good one. Definitely a bad one. And if it also, come on, it would have to be a million years ahead of us, or at least 10,000 years ahead of us. So you got to know there'll be no disease. Our energy problem, we would still not be running fuel and running on fuel lines. It's ridiculous. It's 2022. We're still driving petrochemical powered cars. It's absurd. Okay, it's absurd. It's ridiculous. I mean, they were talking about oil shortages back in the 70s. Come on, people. So, whoever this person or thing or whatever it is, I would not say it has a best interest involved. If there was an existing one, I'm saying there was or wasn't. But you have to say to yourself, yeah, they didn't get here by chemical means. All right, so you would know they would have in their pocket a higher form of energy. You would have to know they'd have photon computers. You'd have to know a lot of things. I have an Apple TV. I have a smart TV, sure, but I mainly watch my Apple TV. But I do have a smart. I have an LG, so I do have a smart TV. But I mainly watch my Apple TV is a 4K Ultra unit. Um, it has a 60 gigabyte RAM buffer that's not really volatile. So I don't know what you would call it. It's a hybrid of the kind of RAM that's in your phone or whatever, and it's a good unit. It's fast. Yeah, I know all about that, Jim. I've already, like I said, doesn't take a rocket scientist to see. I've been through this before. It was through. I'll go through this last. I did. Okay, so 1957. 1957, you had the world's first IBM total electric computer that was based on relays and tubes and whatnot. Okay. In 1977, you had the IBM 360/75. You had the birth of the Apple One computer. You had TRS-80 computer. You had the birth of the 6502, the birth of the Z80 processor. You had things. You had 32K of RAM and things. You had hard drives coming to the personal market. They weren't really available to 8081, and they were $20,000. They're basically $1,000 a megabyte. But still, that's the first. That's that 20-year thing. Now let's look at the same thing. It's 2022. So let's look at the difference from 2002 to now. Okay, high defin TV. Well, it was 1080i. Okay, it's 4K now, but it's not really 4K on cable. It's really 1080p on cable. It's only 4K on some things, and it's not all shows. It's really 1080. So in 20 years, the resolution has gone up a little bit on some things, but not really most things. Okay. Uh, in 2002, we had DVDs. Okay. We have Blu-ray, but we don't have Blu-ray. So do we have anything? We don't have anything. We have hard drives, but we have no optical nothing that can permanently store those hard drives till Mother Earth is degouging them. We have non-volatile SSDs, but we had non-volatile N-Gate SSDs back then, but we weren't using them because they didn't develop the process to make them cheaply. So no real improvement. 20 years, no real improvement. No. How about cameras? We had three chip CCD cameras, but nowhere to record the output. We do have that now, but with the cheaper non-volatile, that made still it's only 4K. See them again. 20 years, people. 20 years. Okay. So you're starting to see a pattern. My truck is 2002 truck. It's a diesel 7.3. It has Huey injectors, puts out 440 horsepower, 750 pound torque, new diesel, maybe more horsepower, more torque, but it burns three times the amount of fuel. and it's much higher in maintenance and everything else. So no improvement there. And they have all these chips, and I'm like, why do you have all these chips? Those chips will fail, which they have done. My truck still running, 3 chips. Um, yeah, 20 years old. See what I'm saying? See a pattern here? Still driving it. Okay. Name something in that 20 years from 1957. Were you driving anything from 1957? No. Were you using anything from 1957, an appliance or something? In 1977, were you doing that? No. You got new stuff. Yeah, you see the innovation, you see the change, innovation in washing machines, innovation in refrigeration, innovation in power, innovation in television, innovation in computers, innovation in everything. Have you seen the same leap? No. What is not? What has not? I'll tell you what has not. 20 years you're driving the space shuttle. A space shuttle that was designed with slide rules that went way beyond what it was supposed to do and really didn't do it very well. That's what happens when you compromise on different types of things. SpaceX, you're like SpaceX. They got SpaceX. No, that's where we should have been. We should have been doing that in 1985. That technology you see today in SpaceX, that's was available in 1985. Okay, we should have been doing that back then. Why are we doing it now? Because there was no more space shuttle. You had Mother Russia. What did Elon Musk see? A gap. Where he can make money. He started to launch satellites, stuff that he's putting up all these satellites for the internet. Why? Because he sees people living in Arizona, people living in these rural areas. They have no bandwidth at all. If they get 25 megabits per second, that's a lot. No, it's not a psyop. I never, no, John, no, or yeah, no. No, we went to the moon. It wasn't crappy technology. Actually, that computer was specifically designed that it could do things that, and everybody's like, well, the iPhone has so much more power than that computer. Yes and no, not really, because that computer was designed to run that specific job and that specific um, inertial guidance system. And yeah, the inertial guidance system was designed and built, well, designed by MIT. Okay, I never understood. That was the other thing. I didn't understand why you wouldn't want to go for the extra 2 pounds and power to put a four gimbal system. If you ever hear the astronauts talk about, specifically Apollo 13, of worrying about a gimbal lock, and that's because in the three axes, if you have any two of the axes of the gyros line up, um, the if the aircraft moves, it won't move. It won't be reflected as a movement in the proper way. It'll curve because of precession. That's why they should have ran four. You always want one more axis than you need. Then you won't have a gimbal lock. Okay, because you'll have another one, right? So they didn't, so they could run into a gimbal lock, which was very bad. Um, it mean that you would lose. That's why if you look at the Apollo spacecraft stuff, and you'll hear our inertial guidance system. Okay, what that is that orientation of the Apollo of the whole spacecraft gets a specific um, inertial guidance lockup, and then that um, gyroscope is actually then maintaining the orientation of that rocket through all its things. So, for example, if you want to get a rocket into space or into specific lunar orbit, because The moon is not on a specific, a perfect equatorial plane with the Earth. It's on a kind of cant thing. So you have to do two things. You have to pitch the thing, and you have to roll the rocket a certain way so that the orbit coincides with the plane of the orbit of the moon. Okay, in order to do that, you have to do these things where it has to clear the tower. Then you see there's a program to roll, and then there's program pitch, and that's done by the flight computers. That's in that piece I talked to you about. That's on the top of the stage of the Saturn V. That whole thing does that. Okay, yeah, and that's yeah. So it's complicated, but I do know that we went to the moon. You can see it. I saw it with my own eyes. You can see where the spacecraft went, the people, what they did. You can't see in great detail, but you can see with a powerful telescope. You can see the tracks of now with other types of aircraft, the Japanese and us and everything else. There's more close-ups of those specific sites. What I wanted to do was, I figured by the time I was old enough and had kids of my own and whatnot, it would be like, Yellowstone Park, and you'd be able to take a bus to the moon, and and then show it off, and it was like, like a Disney World kind of thing, and show that your father's signature. Here's your father's signature, boys. Your grandfather. I don't even know if I'll be able to do that with my great grandchildren. Hopefully, you know, but just saying. So yes, and I was involved with that, and I saw that thing go off, as well as another person that John. A matter of fact, I did a video on the 50th anniversary that both John and I were there. He was literally, I don't know, 30 feet from me. We were standing, I don't know, 3.5 miles away, maybe, maybe further. I don't know. That thing was about the size of my thumb. The whole thing. The whole thing was the size of my thumb. That was it. I I know because I could cover up my thumb. And when I went off, there was when it just on the ignition. Alan Shepard's doing the countdown. Ignition sequence. You saw these huge flame fronts that were like 35 thumbs that to the left and 35 thumbs to the right. And the thing that I remember the sunglasses. The thing was brighter than the sun. Okay, it was unbelievable. And when it started, right, there was this like compression wave, like a bomb went off, and then you saw it knocking down the field coming to you. So by the time the thing started lifting off the ground, it hit you, and it was like two fists punching on your chest. It was not even it wasn't like any rocket I ever it was like this constant hitting you. It was just unbelievable. And yes, it went off slow like this, but as soon as it cleared that tower, it was out of here. I mean, it was like, phew. I'm like, whoa. And everything was on fire. Everything was on. The pad was on. Everything. All these fire hoses and stuff were shooting water on it. Everything was on fire. Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was something that I'll never forget. Never. And thank my father for bringing me there. That was. I remember the motel room too. It was a cheap motel room in a concrete thing with an air conditioner it was a frigid air that was rattling all night and making noise and wasn't even that cold. Just making a racket all night. Stupid. There's certain things that you remember. It's pretty amazing. I hear Rand may have to is this possible? Go to the moon? I'll destroy Earth. It doesn't take much to destroy the planet. I'm saying, as far as destroy the planet, hmm. Um, to put us into a nuclear winter, it doesn't take much to do that. I mean, one super volcano will do that. So I figure, I guess it would take about a kilogram and a half of antimatter, and that'll do it. That'll probably blow about 25% of the Earth into make another moon. That would destroy the Earth. That'll do a pretty good job. Yeah, because you're talking about 100% annihilation of that. They're not like the small. The yield would be 100%. So you're talking about, I don't know. Mm, I guess it'd be like 1,500 gigatons of explosives, maybe. Yeah, yeah, that would do it. That's what you heard. You heard about antimatter bombs? They don't have antimatter bombs. You can only make antimatter at accelerators. So you can make it at here, Brookhaven, and they only make a couple of particles at a time. It's extremely expensive, and then you got to hold it in a magnetic bubble. Yeah, I can't even imagine holding a gram of that stuff. The amount of energy it would take you to make it would just be insane. You could only think about doing that at like CERN or some a grand. I don't even think it'll be capable of doing that. That's a lot. Um, yeah. Versus, a good thermonuclear bomb will give several of them, several of those SAR bomber bombs, even three of them. They'd be like super volcanoes. They'd be over. Nuclear winter. There is a such thing as dark matter. Dark matter doesn't exist. Dark matter is a false. It's a false excuse for bad math. Yeah, there's a lot of dust out there. People don't understand. We live in an electric universe. Yeah, and everything's electrically doing what it's supposed to do. So yeah, if you want to learn about that, look up quantum gravity research. It's another thing. You'll see that a lot of the math falls out of those types of calculations. You'll see that string theory, M theory, all that stuff. I'm not telling you I wasn't proponents of it, but it doesn't work. They break apart. There's all kinds of problems. So a projection from an EA crystal, that works. So, and that goes along with the simulation theory, the wear simulator. So you could think of us living in a cathode ray tube. I mean, it's an analogy, but yeah, I've seen the shuttle lift off as well. Um, and I'm not saying it wasn't a great thing and it wasn't whatever, but you know, that last liftoff, the only flight certified computers on there, the five ones, were based on Motorola 68,000s running at 8 megahertz. 8 megahertz. Processors that were built in 1981. Okay. So, and each computer only had 256 um, kilobytes. I think they were upgraded to a full megabyte. Yeah, it's a lot in 1981. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but not in 2011. No. Um, it's very sad. It's sad because of the priorities they took. You should be storing flour. You can buy it still. I get 50-pound bags of it. I then put it into smaller bags, vacuum bags. I stick it in the freezer for a week. That kills all the weevils, and then you could take it out of the freezer and just store it out of light. You want to store it someplace where there's no light. Um, Rice, beans, dry beans. You can again vacuum seal dry beans in jars, or you can vacuum seal them in bags. Um, Canned food of any kind, cheap as you can get it. Um, Definitely have a box of MREs in your car that you store in your trunk. Definitely a portable grill. You can buy them in the five and dime still for 10, 15 bucks. Comes with coal, little portable grill, everything. It's all sealed in plastic. Get them because with a bag of coal, match light, you can make that last. You can set up fires just to do primitive cooking, three, four coals, and again, you know, survival stuff. A tent, a two-man person tent, sleeping bags. All these things you should have in your car. You should have pure filters. You can get iodine tablets, but I recommend a way to boil the water as well. Save the life straw for when you need it, but just have a 5 gallon bucket. You can make a filter with any dirt, sand, anywhere. You can filter that and then put that into a pot, boil it. Always boil your water for at least 15 minutes before you drink it or use it for cooking. That kills all the pathogens that's in there. Doesn't kill chemical pathogens, chemical toxins, but does kill organics. Okay, because there is Giardia, there's other things. Even in white running water, there's still things. So always boil your water. You never, yeah. If you boil your water, you never, you know, get a 12-volt freezer refrigerator. You can get them. They run off your cigarette lighter. They work very well. They run off the jockey thing. That's a solar powered system. I would definitely buy that now. I made a list of all the things you should have gotten. I said that, I don't know, a year ago. Now, you should have a place that's within 4 hours, 5 hours of driving. You can get there on one tank of fuel, still have fuel, half a tank left. Um, a place that is up in the mountains, away from people. You should have skills, fishing. All these things should be plentiful, whatever that place is. Fishing, hunting, gathering, such as anything mountain rock lettuce to rams to um, even mushrooms if you have that type of expertise. Um, Grubs, all these things my father had taught me. I still won't eat mushrooms because I don't have the. My wife is an expert on mushrooms. I'm not. So, no, string theory is no good. M theory is no good. Um, Quantum gravity research is the best. Basically, everything boils down to a tetrahedron, and the math has proven this to be correct. So, the reality is pixelated, and you're a facet production of this tetrahedron. Okay, which each side is a Planck's constant in size, and then every so-called slice of that meatloaf, it's not a meatloaf, it's not four dimensions. I'm saying this because the only reason why I use meatloaf as an analogy because you can visualize it and you can buy. But if you look at that slice, every slice is 10 to the minus 125th, and so and there's a gap. It's ever so small gap, but each one of those slices is essentially a universe onto itself that we're moving through. Okay, that's why everybody says those multiverses. There's really only one universe, one meatloaf, but there are many, not infinite, but a lot of slices. And remember, you can slice it not only vertically, you can slice it any way you want. So that adds a whole other thing to it. Believe me, I'd love to talk to one of these so-called grays or whatever. I mean, I would find out immediately if it's a demon or not. You know, very easily, very easy to determine what that is. So yeah, Jesus, that's how you do it. You get them to either say it or you command them in Jesus' name. Simple. You see what they do. So if they're from another place, what is their motivation? What Why are they here and what do we have that they need that they can't get where they are? It's not a mineral, it's not gold, it's not water. There's 100,000 Earths of water in the York cloud. That's out just outside, you know, past Pluto. So it's not that. It's not gold. There's asteroids in the asteroid belt that are 95% gold and silver and nickel, literally. I mean, Elon Musk is one of the ones that's thinking about making a robot ship to go out and grab one of those asteroids and park it into orbit and mine it. Not a bad idea, really. Um, yeah, so that's not it. Is it the entertainment? Are they bootlegging the Beatles to Alpha Centauri? Or are they more into our sports scores? Or are they into the Peyton Place? Well, then you'd have to have in order. They'd be more lack to watch the sports thing than they would be to do the Peyton Place thing because that is social things and that's biology and that has to do with everything else. So the unpredictability of a specific sports event would be more attuned to something I would think that would interest them. Um, Certainly, it would be our biology, and that would interest them, and it would also our uniqueness, and like I said, our art. It's certainly not our technology. They would have to have way superior technology to get here. Um, and they have to have a source of energy that's superior to chemical energy, which is what we're run on. So, yep, those would be the things I'd be definitely asking about. I'd also ask if what time are they from? Are you guys from this timeline? Are you from the future? That would be another thing I'd ask. So, and then you have to say to yourself, well, if there is an alien at Pentagon, he had to be exposed to some of our best scientists. And why wouldn't they be asking these questions? And then what did they do with those answers? Certainly, it's not prevalent that they got any of those answers. Certainly, it's not prevalent that there was any type of reverse engineering or even monetization of any engineering. My father had the same sighting as these aircraft as that captain did, and that you saw the footage on the HUD display, and he had that same exact sighting in 1956. You would expect the same spacecraft, to be basically the same spacecraft from 1956 to now. They're not going to make the types of changes that you and I would make in our aircraft because, I mean, they already had a spacecraft that got to here from where they are, trillions, at least 4.5 trillion miles away, at least, minimally. Could be even more. We don't know. So they definitely have technology that works, and they're not going to modify it and change it. You know, so I look at it that way. And I mean, so as you get refined technology, it becomes less um, obsolete the many more years that you run it. You know, so that's the way I see it. I mean, you still have airlines that are flying 35-year-old jets. Basically, even a new jet, a new whatever, is basically still flying with the same principles, same systems that a jet of 45 years ago is flying. Okay, fine. So they have more computers, more avionics, and everything else. I don't know if that's such a good thing. I've seen some fatality crashes because of it, to be honest with you. I think it's better to have people flying it than to have all these things where they just go on autopilot as soon as they get up in the air and then they take it over autopilot just for the landing. I don't think that's a good thing. I think that it's better. I think it's better to fly the thing because that makes you a very lazy pilot and not attuned to certain specific conditions as they develop. It could be weather conditions. It could be anything. That's my opinion as a pilot. Um, Einstein has been proven correct. Okay, so let's just talk about everybody talks about Einstein and those theories. Einstein was from a patent clerk in 1905, and we did a lot of stuff, including your solar panels, your nuclear reactors, your atomic bombs. Everything else was based on Einstein. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good track record. Did he understand full quantum stuff and things? No, no. And he was the first one to specifically state that he was not that good in math. I'm not that good in math. And what's the problem? We have the wrong math. We need new math. We have Newton's math, and calculus was very good for solving a lot of problems, but it's not for this. We need the next level of math. We probably won't get it until we develop a computer system that's going to get it. Um, Believe me, I could use it now. And like I said, with my photon computer, the unit that's actually going to start the actual unit is probably going to end up being five times more complicated and bigger than the actual unit that runs. It's almost like using my big diesel engine 7.3 just to turn over my starter, which is only about this big. In an analogy, so definitely the math is a very big problem. By the way, those people who say that you have multi universes and whatnot, if you run their math, the math has zero. They throw it away, but you can't throw it away. That's a value. So anything that says that there's zero universes, I'm going to discard as an error because of the fact that then that theory doesn't work because I'm here. So that's ridiculous. That means there's a problem in some kind of specification. The problem is the math. The math is we need the next level. Okay, we have Cartesian. We have all kinds of things. We need the next. We need the next. I don't know what the next thing is, but we need the next whatever it is. Okay. Yes, I'm familiar with that. I happen to agree with that. I agree with the fact that there's, like I said, that there's a fight. I believe that there's a fight between good and evil that's out there just as much as it's here. And I believe in bad aliens and I believe in good aliens. You could say demons and angels. I don't care what term vernacular you want to use, but there's no question that there's angels. There's no question that there's demons. And I don't. I believe that this, God created this whole thing for something. So the reality is, who am I to say that He didn't create more? Not saying that. I'd be an arrogant idiot not to think that out there there's no, no. So, but what I'm saying from the evidence that I know from military pilots and whatnot, the encounters that they had were not positive. They did not have good encounters. They had encounters that damaged them physically. They had encounters that almost got them killed. That's what I'm saying. That's not a responsible higher life form. That's a life form that is, oh, I actually, yeah, it's an anthill. It's okay. It's an anthill. That I worry. Okay. Because if are sent by God, you want to leave those anthills alone lest they're interfering with what you're doing. You have respect for all life. As a hunter, as a bull, I can tell you that that's how I was taught to leave the woods better than I found them, cleaner, better. If I did kill something, it was number one, plentiful. I was going to eat it, and I killed it mercifully because there's many animals I did not kill for any of those reasons because I didn't want to kill it or it was magnificent. I would never kill it. Like, go make more deer. You're magnificent. Go do it. It's not going to taste very good if you're 12 years old either. Okay. There's some fish I caught that were too big. Oh, you're too big. Everybody's like, oh, it's big. I'm like, it's too big. You know, too big. Go make more. Not going to taste good. Things are opening up on mine. Oh, I only wish. I mean, what we should be working on is the fact that an asteroid or parts of it or fragments of it, we know that it's going to. We don't know if it might hit us. We don't know. Sometime in November, it's possible. Granted, it's not an L event. L event means it's an extinction level event, like the dinosaur. But it still hit a city and killed 2.5 million people. It'll go off like a 25 kiloton bomb. Yeah, okay, fine. It won't be any radioactive. But do you want to be sitting in your car when a 25 kiloton bomb goes off? Just saying. When it doesn't have to, or even worse, hit an ocean 30 miles away from the shore and create a huge tsunami that kills untold amounts of people. You don't want to see that, you know. So, especially the sin of it, the CME is avoidable. The asteroids and near Earth asteroids will, even these super volcanoes are avoidable. If we work together, we can avoid these things. That's what the sin of it is. That's God has given us the ability and the knowledge to be able to stop these things from happening. We're the first species that's on this planet that can prevent our extinction. And what are we doing? We're trying to extinct ourselves. Yeah, bees are driven by magnetic fields, and there's magnetic anomalies that are occurring out there. Um, Yellowstone, yeah, Yellowstone's a perfect example. Yellowstone should be harnessed. It's gonna blow. Okay, not gonna do it tomorrow. Odds are, but it's definitely gonna do it within the next 150 years. I could definitely put a red line in the sand that it, okay, when it does it 150 years from now, it's not going to be any better than if it did it from tomorrow. It's going to be bad. Why? Why, when you have the technology to harness it for all time, it could solve so many equations, so many things. It could solve water issues, it could solve power issues, it could solve material issues, it could solve all those issues, and you could prevent it from blowing up in the future. And that technology that you developed to do this, you can then export it to 5 other places on the planet that have the same freaking problem. Why wouldn't you want to do that? That's positive thinking. That's doing something. Jobs, ensuring a non-volcanic superwinter, ensuring, I mean, all kinds of great things. Why wouldn't you want to do this? See what I'm saying? That's a good thing. I don't get it. Um, Portals. Who knows? I know that there's aliens, so there's probably portals. They probably go and come from whatever. Who knows? The fact is, the government said in that thing, definitely they're here. Definitely there's multiple species of them. Definitely all these, they're real. I find it very amusing or very unbelievable when the senator asked this guy. So nobody asked him why they're here, what their purpose is, and I mean, I can't believe that you wouldn't do this. That you wouldn't do this. You wouldn't say to, excuse me, Mr. Gray, why are you here? Are you sightseeing? That guy that you basically put into a microwave oven. He's not a microwave popcorn bag, and he is suffering some internal organ damage from that close encounter. You do you think that you might want to say this? I'm just saying. I'd be saying this. Why wouldn't you say these things? Take me to your leader. I mean, what? I mean, Mr. Alien, yes. I have this skin rash. Do you have a cream for it? You figured at least the so-called woke people who have HIV would have asked them if they have a cure for it. Do you got a cure for this HIV? Oh, jeez. Jeez Louise, right? I mean, you think they would have excuse me, Mr. Gray, do you have a cure for this common cold and this allergy? Every tree season, I get it. Well, the drug companies say, don't ask to that, don't. I mean, come on. If it was so innovative, how come we're still going to be waiting on gas lines somewhere and running out of fuel? It's, it's I mean, this brings me back to the time I'm 10 years old. Oh my gosh. I remember I got my driver's license. I got I bought a 1968 Pontiac Tempest from my sister, and had a 350 on it, and I had a Rochester two barrel, and I had the infinite idea to put a six pack on it. What a dumb idiot I was! And then all of a sudden, the second gas crisis happened, and I mean, it took like, I'm not kidding, it took like a gallon of gas just to start this stupid thing up. it, it wasn't even. I don't even think it got 5 miles to the gallon. you know, I was back on my bicycle again. Yeah, it's just you know, I didn't think at 2022 I'd have to worry about this again. I'm like going out. I have diesel storage here in my trailer. I have a fuel pod. I have a caddy. I'm looking into getting more diesel jugs. I have a bunch. I think I have 15 5-gallon diesel containers between my boat and here. And then and then I have the stowaway that fits into the hitch. So that has a 275-pound capacity. So I'm trying to work this out because I got to drive down to my son in Florida. So I'm like, how am I going to do this if there's no freaking diesel and I got to do this? So I need to do this. I need to have enough diesel with me where I can go down there and I can come back and still have enough diesel to make it up to my house for a month and refuel here because I could just use home heating oil. Oh, you're back. Get back in front of these wonderful people. Here you go. Come on. Yes, you gotta say yes. I don't can't believe what you hear, 23 Angel. Um, I can tell you this. No, no. So where the stuff that used to clad the Great Pyramids a long time ago was taken. Okay, it was taken to make houses in the villages of Egypt. They had the thing shiny like a white thing made out of all those stones went to build stuff. Yeah. Right. You want to come up here and say hi to people? People want to see you. Ooh. We'll give them a howl before we go. Ooh. Howdy. Ooh. 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 Howdy. He likes doing that. That's a good boy. You want to get that squirrel, right? You see the squirrel? It's a squirrel. You hate squirrels. Yeah, Max killed a rabbit in the backyard. I think I might have told you this. He chased after him. He's so fast. He caught the rabbit. He shook it, broke its neck. That was it. The rat was dead. Nothing I could do. And then he's like, get up. He's like nudging it with his nose. Come on, get up. I'm like, rabbit's dead, dog. You killed it. Yeah, he's very good at that. I have to refill my pistol application this weekend, get that all done. Probably go down there myself, with my wife, and and then I have to gotta do a lot of stuff. Like I said, I gotta handle that diesel situation, and yeah, because next week I'm driving up to my house in Vermont, so I haven't been up there for a long time. Gotta deliver a bunch of stuff up there. So gotta deliver supplies of things and also check on the place. Yep, gotta do that. Plus, my wife always this time of year she harvests the ramps. They go wild up there on the mountains. We know where they are, and fishing, the important thing, and just breathing that wonderful air. It's gonna be good. And yeah, gosh, it's amazing. I would ask you guys to come up there this summer, but with gas prices and everything, oof, I don't think anybody's gonna be traveling anywhere. The what? Grayscale asked the what? Ramps. It's like a wild scallion onion cross. They're really expensive in stores. I don't know if you've priced them out, but finer dishes and chefs use them. So she makes them with breakfast for breakfast with eggs and stuff. They're very good for you. They do not keep well. They do not keep like onions. They keep like fresh baked bread, which goes stale like immediately. So yeah. Yep, ramps. She also goes and she harvests mushrooms and she harvests mountain lettuce and ferns, some fiddle fern, some kind, all kinds of stuff. My wife loves doing all. She goes, you know, never heard of them. Um, they're very prevalent in the Northeast. Ramps, Ramps, I think. Uh, they smell like an onion. They have a little purple vein in them. Yeah, but there's other plants that look like them that are poisonous too. So you really got to know what you're doing. There's ferns that are poisonous as well. Um, yeah. So she goes and she, with the dog Max, we walk in the trails. You have to understand the Appalachian Trail is literally, I guess it's 500 yards from my door, about that. So, so there's that, and that goes all the way up to the top of my mountain that we're on. We're about a third of the way top. If you've looked at any of my videos, you see me. Um, that's like my back. That's at the top of the plaza lift, and it goes up from there. So it's nice up there. It's really nice. Sky is so dark, so blue. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I hope I answered your questions. Yes, there's going to be data shortages. Please, please, please. Like I said, take these things in advisement. Set up your car. Set up a place to go to. You have to do it. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, horrible, horrible, horrible governor, horrible mayor. Anyway, God bless. Please accept Jesus Christ. He can walk without fear. It's very important. Be safe.